Hi, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where we've had a request from a viewer to take a look at this extreme Sudoku, which sounds intimidating. Just for those of you who are unaware, if you want to send us puzzles for us to solve, if we have time on the channel, then there's two ways of doing that. You can reach us on our Twitter account, which is @CrypticCracking. So do go there, do follow us. And you'll get notifications of when we're posting videos, etc. And the other way of sending us stuff is by email, and we are at crackingthecryptic@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's have a look at this puzzle. Okay, so 8, 8, 8 and 8 mean there must be an 8 here and an 8 here. A lot of interesting symmetry in the grid. I'll start with standard pencil mark notation. So as usual, just in a 3x3 block, if a number can only go in exactly 2 positions, and you can see with the 2's here and here and this 2, I could pencil mark 2's into 2 positions in this 3x3 block, and this 6 allows me to do the same thing. So by doing that, I now know there's a 2-6 pair in this 3x3 block. So the other numbers have got to be 3 and 7. So let's pencil mark those in. In fact, didn't notice that 6 there. That resolves the 6 and the 2. So 6 and 2. That must be a 2 as well because of the 2 here and the 2 here. It's ever the way, it seems to me, with these very difficult puzzles, is that quite often you get off to a stellar start and you're sort of rattling through them, and then you grind to an awful halt. So 6 pencil marks here because of the 6 and the 6. That means there must be a 6 in one of these 2 positions as well. So let's pencil mark that in. 3. Oh, 3s. Yes, there must be a 3 there. Look, let's put that. That resolves the 3 and the 7. I'm not going to spend too long on this early part of the solve, simply because I suspect it's going to get very hard. 6's into those 2 positions, 8's, 2's, 6's, 2's, 2's, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2's into one of those 2 positions. Let's have a look at column 6 here. So what are we missing? We're missing 5, 6, 7 and 9. Okay, so this must be the 7 because of the 7 here. This must be the 9. What dearth of 7's and 9's in the grid. That's very frustrating. 2, 5. Okay, so 5's are locked into those 2 positions by this 5, so this square here will have to be the 9. That means we can pencil mark 9's in the middle. 2, 5. Let's have a look at column 4 now. So you can see we still need to place a 4 and a 7. 4 can go in 2 positions and the 7 can go in 2 positions. That's annoying. So I can't make any more pencil marks there, I don't think. 4, 4. Pencil mark 4's there. 8, 8, 9. 3, 3, and this 3 here. So this square here has got to be a 3, which means we can pencil mark 3's down there. 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. Seven here and this 7 here mean we can pencil mark 7's into those 2 squares and into those 2 squares. This square here can only be a 1. Let's put that in. Not going to get too much more from that. The missing pencil mark here is a 7, so let's put that in. It's one of those 2 squares. 7, 7, 2, 2. Let's mark 2's over there. 6, 6, sort of running out of places I can see obvious pencil marks now. So in this position, first thing I would do is look at rows and columns with a lot of given numbers. Let's have a look at the central row. You can see this is a 4, 6 or a 9, which means it's a 6, 9 pair. But I'd have to abandon my pencil marks to put that in, so I'm reluctant to do that. Let's have a look at row 1, 4, 6, 4, 5, 6, 9. Okay, so there we go, 4, 5 and 6 here. So this square here can only be a 9. It's the only number that that square will take, which allows us to put a 9 in there. Simple Sudoku rules. Now let's have another look at this then. So 4, 5 and 6 still to place. That's frustrating. Can't quite get another number as a result of that. Is that right? No, so we can place a 7 in column 1. Where can we place a 7 in column 1? It's a 7 here and a 7 here. So this is the only square that 7 can go into. And that allows me to pencil mark some 7s down there. And we're left with 4 and 5. Now I think I'm going to have to start pencil marking pairs now as well, because I'm not seeing much more as we're going through the solve. So we're going to have to, I think, go to this sort of length. So 4, 5 and 6. This is a 5, 6. This is obviously, that's 4, 5, 6. Let's have a look at row 9 now. So 4, 5, 7 and 8. Yeah, so this is a 7, 8 pair. This is a 4, 7 pair, I think. Have we got anything there? Just checking. Let me just bear with me a moment while I stare at this. I can't see anything. Okay, so let's carry on. Okay, so 5, 8 pair there. 4, 5, 7, 8. And a 7, 8 here. So this is a 4 or 5. Okay, so there is a little trick you can do there, because this is a 4, 5, 6. There is a bent triple here. Now, this isn't quite a Y-wing, because this square here has 3 possibilities. Now, in a Y-wing, the bent triple has to have 2 possibilities in all 3 positions. Now, this has 3, which is very slightly less powerful. But you can see that the number 5 is common to each of these 3 squares. So the simple question to ask ourselves is it possible that none of these squares contains a 5? You can see immediately, if none of these squares contained a 5, this would be a 6, this would have to be a 4, and then this square couldn't be filled. So we know that one of these squares contains a 5, and therefore we can say, we can have a look at the grid, and we can say any square in this grid that can see all 3 of these squares cannot contain a 5. So in particular, for example, neither of these squares contain a 5. In fact, I think they're the only ones, because it has to be able to see all 3 of the squares. So let's have a look at these, knowing that there can't be a 5. So we look at this one. So 1, 2, 7 and 8 are the only possibilities. And you can see, it's annoying, isn't it? So 1, 2 and 7 now is the limit here. The 8 it's removed by this cell. Let's just check. No, this one's not going to be more limited. It's going to be less limited. So we managed to get that down to just a choice of 3. That's not really what I was hoping for. Okay, let's carry on though. So 4, 6, 7, 9. So is this a 4 or a 6? I think so. 4, 6, 7 there. That's no real use. Okay, let's have a look at the central row. We've got 4, 6 and 9 to place. 4 here, so this is a 6 or a 9. Okay, so there is a Y-wing. There is a natural Y-wing now. This 4, 6, this 4, 9, this 6, 9. That is a classic bent triple with each cell containing two possibilities. So when we find this pattern, we go to the central square of the Y-wing and we ask ourselves how this square's choices impact on the wings of the Y-wing. So you can see if this is a 4, this will be a 6. If this is a 9, this will be a 6. So this means that if we can find cells that can see both this square and this square, they cannot contain a 6. Now, I think there's only this square is the interesting one here. So we now know this square does not contain a 6. That might be useful actually, because this we've got 1, 2, 3 in the column. This can be a 4, therefore. It can be a 5, can it? No, it can't be a 5 because we need a 5 in one of these two squares because of what's going on in row 9. So it can't be a 5. We just said it can't be a 6 because of the Y-wing. It can't be a 7. Can be an 8. Can't be a 9. So this is a... Okay, that's nice, isn't it? Because this is a 4 or an 8. But look, we've already identified two other squares in this 3 by 3 block that are limited to the number 5, 8 and 4, 5. So we have a triple now on the numbers 4, 5 and 8 in this 3 by 3 block. So does that do anything for us? Please let it do something for us. I'm not seeing it though. So 1, 3, 6 and 9 are filling these squares. So this square, I suppose, is the most obvious one. That's going to be limited to a 6 or a 9. That is a... okay. Well, we're making progress. So now we have a 6, 9 double in column 8, don't we? Okay, so now column 8 essentially has 5 given numbers in it because of the 6, 9 double. So we're still missing 4, 5, 7 and 8. So we're definitely going to be pencil marking in down column 8 now. So 4, 5, 7 and 8. So this is a 5 or a 7 now. 4, 5, 7 and 8, I think. I think that's 5, 7 and 8. I don't think I can do better than that there. And this one is 4, 5 or 8. I think that's as good as we can do. I may have missed a digit there, so let me just look at this for a sec. Okay. So if we accept that this puzzle is intended to have a logical solution, this 6-9 pair does feel important, doesn't it? So what is the most obvious thing we get from this 6-9 pair? I suppose it's that there's a possibility, maybe it's the 4s that we need to appreciate. So there is a 4. Now if we look at column 8, there's a 4 in this position and this position. So is there another column of the grid where the 4s are limited to the same rows, i.e. row 2 and row 7? Okay, so I think it's going to have to be column 2 is the only real option. That's good. The 4 is limited there. This is good. This is good. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's still good. So the 4 is limited, but it's limited to 3 rows, not 2. But we have the finned X-wing, don't we? Because if we compare the positions of the 4s here, if this 4 wasn't possible, if there was no 4 in this cell, we would have an X-wing, and you can see immediately that would be brilliant because we would be able to remove the 4 as a candidate from this square. That's simple X-wing logic. Because we've locked the 4s into these two very specific positions, I'll do some highlighting afterwards, we know that the final arrangement of 4s in the grid would either be a 4 here and a 4 here, or a 4 here and a 4 here. That's forced. Now the result of that is that there can't be any more 4s in rows 2 and row 7. Now, but you'll have seen that we've got something slightly different because we've got this wing sticking out, this fin sticking out from the X-wing. Now, the great thing about this fin is, though, that it's absolutely fine, because all we have to do is change our question slightly, and we'll get to the same answer. So where the X-wing has a fin, there are two possible states of the universe. Either the fin is true, i.e. this square is a 4. Now if this square is a 4, we can still remove the 4 as a candidate from this square here. Or the fin is not true, and if the fin is not true, we have an X-wing, and that leads to the same conclusion. We can still remove the 4 as a candidate from this square. So either way round, we are able to say with certainty this square is a 5. Now hopefully that will be useful. So let's just make sure I'm not going to miss anything here. So I can pencil mark 5s there, look. You can see this 4 means that there is a 5-6 pair up here. So let's remove the 5s from these two cells. Now we have a 4-8 pair, don't we, in column 8. So this square has to be a 7. Let's make sure we put that in. We can remove this there. Is that useful? Oh, yes, it is. This is therefore 5. Okay. 5. Trying to be very careful not to, because I've got a sort of a mixed scheme of pencil marks in the grid at the moment. I don't want to make an incorrect logical deduction as a result of the sort of polluted pencil mark situation that I've got going on. Oh, I tell you what we could do. Can we do it? Yes, we can, I think. Okay, let's just have a look at this square now. So we know this isn't a 4. And we have to be careful there, because obviously the natural inclination might be to say, oh, well, I've removed the 4 from here, therefore can't I assume something about the other side of the X-wing that we found earlier, or the potential X-wing we found earlier, but we can't, you see, because we know one of these two squares is a 4, but if it was this one, we couldn't then deduce anything about these two squares. So we have to be a little bit careful about that. Obviously, if this was the 4, that would force a 4 into this square. But I think we might be able to do something by using the other side of the X-wing in a sense. So we did something using the 4s, but look, we have the 8s locked into these two positions as well. And if we scan across to column 2 here and ask where can we place an 8, we've got an 8 can go in this square, and an 8 can go in either of this square, these two squares. So we've got a finned X-wing on 8s in the same column as we had finned X-wing on 4s. It's just the fins are in different places. So now why does that matter? Well, I'm not sure it does matter yet, but let me just check what are the options for this cell. Because obviously I can remove an 8 as a candidate from this cell because of the finned X-wing. So the options are 1, 5 and 8. So this is a 1 or a 5. There's a 5 here. So this square now is forced to be a 1 by the same logic. So let me just go through that. In theory, this could be a 1 or an 8. But the X-wing on the 8s is either true, because the fin is not true. So if the fin is not true, we have an X-wing on 8s, and I can remove the 8 from this square. Or the fin is true, in which case this square cannot contain an 8 either. So either way round, we can remove the 8 as a candidate there. This is a 1. Please let that crack this puzzle. Yes, I think it is going to, because now we can pencil mark 1s into those two squares, and I know that the 4s are locked into the same position. So this is now a 1-4 pair, and I can remove the 8 from this square. So this is a 5-8 pair here, 1-4 pair here. So now is that going to just crack it immediately? 3, 7 and 8 into these squares. 3, 8, 3, 7, 7, 8. please, come on. Look, for goodness sake, I don't think... Oh, I feel like I'm missing something here because I've done all of this hard work and I still can't quite see how to solve this. I'm going to check this square. 1, 2, 5 and 8. The 5 here, so this is a 1 or an 8. This is... Really? 5, 8, 7. What is the next step here? Sorry about this, I'm struggling a little bit to see this. I'm going to pencil mark, let's try more pencil marks down in row 6. So 3, 6 and 7, so this is a 3, 6 here. And this one is, still loads. 3, 6. Okay, yeah, there is. Okay, I can see a way through it. It's not that elegant, but if we look at this square, you can see that obviously it's a choice of 2 numbers. Let's ask ourselves what happens if it's a 6. If it's a 6, this is a 5, this is an 8, this is a 7, and this is a 3. Okay, so what we have here is a situation where either this square is a 3 or this square is a 3. And it's this sort of chaining that it's important to get into the habit of testing yourself with, because well, it's very powerful. It's very powerful actually in speed solving as well as sort of logical solving. I don't know what you would call this sort of this choice, this forced choice. It's not like a finned X-wing or anything like that. It's probably called something like an XY chain. But what's the implication of that here? So we know either this square's a 3 or this square's a 3. Well, the important thing to note is therefore there cannot be a 3 here. And now let's have a look at column 7. Where can we place a 3 in column 7? We need to put one somewhere. It's not here, it's not here. Obviously it can't be in any of these 3 squares because of this 3, so there's only actually one square left that can take a 3, and it's this one. Now that, maybe, that will, that will allow us to make more progress now. So 3, so this one is a 6 or a 7 now. 3. Goes into those 2 squares. Flipping heck. Okay, well, I guess we could do the same thing again. Let's have a look at this square now. You can see everything is sort of chaining around the grid when you make these choices, but this is an obvious place. So 6 or a 5. If this is a 6, this forces a 7 here. If this is a 5, look what happens. 4. So this is a 7, and this is a 6. So either this is a 6 or this is a 6, both pointing at this square. This square cannot have a 6 in it. So that one's a 7. This is a 9, and this is a 6. And therefore this is a 9. I don't actually dare say that this is solved now, because this has been so difficult to get to grips with that perhaps it's not. So 6, 7, 9, 4, 7. It's looking reasonably useful there, isn't it? So we have a 4 and a 6, I think, left into these 2 squares. So now that we know that the 4s are locked into these 2 positions in this 3x3 block, and these 2 positions in this 3x3 block, we know that there must be a 4 either here or here in this square, so there's only one place the 4 can go now. That's there. That means this is an 8, this is a 4. If we're looking across here, this must be 8, 7, 3 in that order, I think. 8, 873. Well, this must be a 3. What are we looking for here? Well, this one must be a 5. 1 and 6 resolving themselves, do they? No. 1, 6, 1, 6. This 5, 6 does unwind at the top though, which probably does unwind the 6, 1, yes. That unwinds the 1 and the 4. This unwinds the 4 and the 6, and I now think we are home and hosed. What a brutal puzzle. Yes, I'm sorry, that was not, didn't feel like a smooth solve, but I was quite pleased actually to get it out in a logical way. So thank you very much for watching. Slightly longer video, but yeah, my brain wasn't quick enough to dissect that one any faster. But there was quite a few interesting techniques, and I hope it helps you with your solving. Please do subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. I really appreciate that. And we'll be back soon with another edition. Cracking the Cryptic.